now time. I know it's, we all have busy lives, but for me it's a great pleasure before I leave, to be here and share some of my thoughts about what I've been doing, and also recognize the contribution that all of you are making to the relationship. And I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Now we open the floor for an interactive session. A couple of reminders before we go into the session. We request the community leaders to keep their questions concise so that we can engage with maximum queries as possible. Please raise your hand and a microphone will be brought to you. Please introduce yourself with your name prior to asking the question. To ensure that all questions are effectively answered,
we will collect 3 questions at a time. Additionally, we ask to make sure that the questions are not repeated. Without further ado, let's begin our interactive session, and I would now hand over to His Excellency Vinod K. Jacob, the Indian Ambassador, to moderate the session.
Who are wishing to ask a question, please raise your hand.
Good evening, Your Excellency Minister. My name is Muhammad Hussain Malim, representing Bharati Tamil Association and Non-Resident Indian Tamil Association. I would like to appreciate your excellent speech you made, and plus I would like to thank you from my heart for your intervention on this 30 plus fishermen who are arrested by Bahrain Coast Guard while they are entering from Bahrain. We thought it's going to be a very complicated issue and these poor people will suffer very long. But your intervention and direction and the efficiency of our ambassador to India to Bahrain and all the officials of embassy. This matter was solved in a matter of weeks, which is totally unexpected, and we thank you from our bottom of our heart for this initiation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's very good of you to say so, but I want to make a larger point. I spoke about the world as a global workplace. The fact is also more and more Indians
leave the shores of India. They go as tourists, they go as students, they go to work. And we have seen, that they can get into situations where it is most important for the official system to do something about it. Because we have reached a stage we cannot leave our people in difficulty, anybody, in any country, to themselves. This is an obligation that we have to our citizen. And I would say, as someone who's been, who spent a lifetime in diplomacy, to me, one of the big changes of the last decade has been this focus on the welfare of individual citizens. That it's not like we were not doing this before, but I think the kind of focus and the kind of push, and sometimes even the systems that, if any of you were to lose your passport somewhere or something unfortunate happens, today the mindset of the system has actually changed. Every embassy, every consulate, every ambassador knows that this is something that they have to do, and we use, because our relationships with the world is also that much stronger, we use those relationships for the benefit of ordinary people. But I appreciate very much that, you know, this particular incident is recognized by you, and I value the words that you have said.
Thank you. Here, Mr. Balu.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for a wonderful presentation, and we sincerely appreciate everything that you are doing for the 25 years. What visibly is evident is that the embassy has become really digital, in the sense that in delivering services and faster. That's one. But why I rose to stand here is I am also Vice Chairman of the Bahrain India Society, and we have a long-standing request for a double taxation treaty between the country of Bahrain and India. Just for the information, that Bahrain is the only country in the MENA region which does not have a double taxation treaty, and since corporate tax is going to be a reality in Bahrain, it would definitely be benefit for the both businesses, both Bahrain and India. And when you ask for a tax residency certificate from the National Bureau of Revenue, it very clearly says that those countries who do not have a DTAA cannot get this tax residency certificate. So if you can please look into that. Thank you, Your Excellency.
Please hand over. There.
Your Excellency, thank you very much. We are very honored with your presence here. Being an avid fan of your writing, especially, so from the India way to why Bharat matters, and I feel it's precisely a starting point for my question as to, sir, we would like to know your thoughts on why Bharat matters in the next 5 years, in the 10 years, and what we as the expatriate community, especially in the Middle East, how we should contribute to adding charm to why Bharat matters.
Here, Bob.
Your Excellency, welcome to Bahrain. I'm Bob Thakur. I'm part of one of the oldest expatriate business community in Bahrain, and it was a privilege to have you at the Srinathji temple yesterday. Your book, Bharat Matters, and all those writings which you have said, obviously highlights and accentuates what India is going to be in next few years. That's some question asked. How do we address the imbalance in the United Nations Security Council? We've been talking about it. It's an inevitable thing. You have said it, that it is inevitable. How do we break the stalemate, and when can we actually have that natural seat which we deserve? I believe, and I think everybody in this hall and 1.4 billion Indians believe we should have. Thank you.
One more. Here.
Good evening, Your Excellency. I am P.V. Radhakrishnan, a Pravasi Bharatiya Samman Awardee, as well as the President of the Bahrain Kerala Samajam. First of all, let me congratulate you. As you said, the world look at India differently today because of mainly the initiatives done by PM Modi ji in general and by you in particular. I take this opportunity to thank you for two different incidents which happened in this region. One, your swift involvement in releasing the former military officers who were jailed in Qatar, which has made us all proud. Number two, I acknowledge with thanks your call in the midnight to your counterpart in Bahrain for clearing the chartered flights, between India and Bahrain. Having said that, one issue which I represent the Keralites actually, 60% of the Indian population in Bahrain are from Kerala, and our travel problems, increased day by day. There were, regular flights to Cochin, till recently. Now they have stopped. There is a case with Trivandrum as well as the Calicut. Please look into this, number one. Number two, see, out of the Indian community, 60% are from the Keralites. The Hindu community in the South Indian community, or predominantly the Keralite and Tamil and Telugu community, they don't have a place for practicing their faith. Temple, actually there is a temple in Manama, but we people follow other rituals, South Indian rituals. So your intervention in getting a space for getting to establish a temple will be highly appreciated. Number three, actually, we social clubs, we all practice our culture. Our culture, we do have festivals, all those things. So we would appreciate if you put some pressure to get us more freedom, in the sense that permissions, for conducting programs, for collecting sponsorship. So this is a big issue for our social clubs. Thank you very much.
I think PBSA awardees can get to ask many questions within one question. That's a very special trait that you have. But let me start with the double taxation avoidance agreement. My sense, the reason why there wasn't one earlier was because of the perception in India that there wasn't a tax, the absence of a corporate tax, in a sense, led to a lack of interest in this matter. So I must share with you, it is something we discussed today, and we need to understand the changes which are taking place in the Bahrain taxation system, and a better understanding will enable us to respond to that situation. Because quite frankly, if we have it with, I don't know if we have it with everybody in MENA, but definitely we have it with everybody in GCC, that I know. So let us look at that, because obviously, a country which is so positive, and communities elsewhere are benefiting from it, we see no reason why the same should not happen here. But we will need a little bit of time here, because you also know it is something which is negotiated. But I do wish to assure you that it's on our radar, it has been discussed, and we will look at it going down the road. There were two clubbed questions, but let me come to the why Bharat matters. Look, we are already the most populous country in the world, but that itself doesn't mean that much, because we have been among the most populous countries now for many years. So what has changed? Not just our numbers. What has actually changed is the capability, the confidence, the impact that that Bharat makes on the world. Because at the end of the day, the world is competitive. The world looks to see if some other country or some other people, do they impact my life or not? You can be in large numbers and impact very few people. You won't matter. But you can be in small numbers and impact a lot of people. You'll matter. But if you are in large numbers and impactful, that's like a double impact you make in the world. So if you see today, where is there, you ask me next 5 years, I'd say 5 to 10 years. Where will the growth come for the global economy? I think the answer is India. Bharat will be a big part of that growth. Where we speak today, there's a knowledge economy, world of AI. So AI needs people. What does AI need at the end of the day? It needs chips, it needs electricity, and it needs people. And you will then apply the combination of all of that to different products and different services. So where is that talent pool in the world? A large part of it is in India. When you see in terms of, the new demands in a way, that, an economy which is $4 trillion, which is today growing at that kind of speed. Again, look at it from the world's point of view, that why, we see today almost every week, we see, there's a foreign delegation, there's a foreign leader, there's a foreign business delegation. Why is that? Again, because they see that in many, many areas there is that demand. But there is also the part which we will impact the world, that whatever you might say, we are a civilization. We bring to bear, in a way, when you speak about our practices, we bring to bear all the attributes of 5,000 years of people living together. When we do things in the world, we don't do it in haste. We think about the consequences. We try to consider the attitude and interests of everybody else involved in that issue. So there is a unique quality about us, which I think people are beginning to see. In fact, when I ended, I said, look, why is it we are able to talk to parties who don't talk to each other? Because I think somewhere there is a certain objectivity about us, that we don't take one-sided positions. We try to consider, even in our own lives, there is a certain, because we are in a way so pluralistic, we are multi-faith, we are multi-language, we don't take one dimension alone. I think this makes us very different, and I would argue that it gives us a particular sort of positioning in a world which is why Bharat matters. Now what we have to do, sir, is to make that positioning accepted by the UN, the body of the UN. And my guess is today, actually, if I'm very honest with you, I think if you have a vote in the UN about who you want to see out there, I have no doubt, that there will be support for us. However, this is one of those situations, it's like a club where you're asking the present club members, saying, let another person become member of that club. So they all, have different degrees of hesitation there. But I am confident. I am confident for this reason, precisely because of what I have said, our weight, our capability, our contribution, our impact. It will become harder and harder with each passing year. I mean, if I even were to look at the last 2 years, it's very interesting. We had the presidency of the G20, in 2023. Many countries have had this presidency before us. One issue had been there in the G20 for many years, which is when they selected the top 20 G20 is the top 20 economies of the world, Obviously, there were very few African members because they weren't in the top 20. So in Africa, there's been a long-standing demand saying, give Africa collectively a place. Every G20 would come, and I've attended the last 10, I can tell you. Every G20 would end up in the same way. People say, yes, we should do it. Then the meeting would take place and say, this time we couldn't do it. Next time somebody will do it. This is how it was going. Now, in our case, we said, look, Africa has a reason, it's a just cause, somebody needs to make that effort, it's our turn, let's make it. So, now what does it do? Today, there are 54 African countries. Believe me, each one of them today says, look, whatever you might say, the Indians did it, and we didn't gain anything by doing it. There's no self-interest involved. But we did it when they know that many others could have done it but did not do it. The same story, for example, went true for vaccines. Think about that vaccine period, where there was a shortage of vaccine. There's almost like, those who had it were hanging on to it. The rich, the developed countries, there were countries which had 4, 5, 6 times the number of vaccine doses as the size of the population. One country I read had 8 times that size, and they were still asking you for vaccine supply after having 8 times the supply. And yet there were countries where there was not one dose. There were small islands. Now, many of them later told us that they actually had no hope. They had given up the idea. They thought COVID will come, COVID will go, others will get vaccinated, God only knows what will happen to us. Now, it was not necessary for us to supply them with vaccines. I mean, nobody paid, we kind of did it, we paid for much of it ourselves. But what we did was we stepped forward for countries who were left behind. Now, even today it is now, you can say, 3 years, 2 to 3 years since vaccination is over. Last month, I was with the Prime Minister in the Caribbean, in Guyana. And we had a meeting of Caribbean countries. Even today they talk about it. In fact, one after another, they stood up and said, look, you know, Prime Minister Modi, we never had a chance to meet you in person after that. So the first thing we want to do is at least say thank you. Now, when you say, you know, why Bharat matters, these are all reasons why Bharat matters. Africa says, okay, here's a country which is willing to speak up for us. A lot of the small island states say, okay, here's somebody willing to do COVID for us. So we have that sense today that, you know, even if our own direct interests are not involved, we are still willing to step forward. And I think that is why our UN Security Council seat will gain more and more support. And I honestly believe that it cannot be stopped forever. At some stage, we will definitely create a situation where our membership would be inevitable. There were some practical issues that you raised. Travel problems. I would say, you know, there are a set of different issues here. One part of it is the airlines themselves. You are connected with the industry, you know better than me. Today in India, the airlines are privatized. So it's in many ways a decision which they have to make. But certainly, you know, we will encourage them to look at the Gulf generally, but especially those countries in the Gulf where the services, the flights, the number, the capacity is less, and even that is actually today not being fully serviced. So I will, you know, certainly, you know, speak to them, and I'll also speak to my cabinet colleague, Ram Mohan Naidu ji, who deals with it. On the issue of, you know, the temple, your cultural activities, etc. Look, again, my urging to you would be, this is a society where there is a lot of goodwill for us, a lot of respect for us. You know, I've heard people say very, very warm things about the community. I think you are in a position to find a way of getting the authorities to understand and appreciate these requirements as legitimate. Certainly, you know, as a partner government, from our side, we will be supportive of your aspirations. But it is important that they hear it primarily from the community. Because at the end of the day, you know, they must feel that this is a decision which is something between the government here and the community here. We are your well-wishers, obviously, and we are the government's well-wishers as well. So from our side, whatever we can do, we would, but I do think that the primary urging should come from the community. We can take one round.
One more round. Vivek.
Thank you, Your Excellency. During your intriguing speech, you mentioned about chartered accountants. So introduce myself, I'm CA Vivek Gupta, Chairperson of Institute of Chartered Accountants of Bahrain chapter. I have a request and a question. So chartered accountants are backbone of financial economy in many countries, not just India, Indian chartered accountants. However, despite that fact, CA is not recognized qualification in GCC, any of the GCC country. though we are in discussion with our parent body to get it recognized. But till date, we are also relied on our BCom or BSc degrees to get the visas to work in the region. So if something can be looked into those notes, that will be really appreciated. And the question is, any message you have for the chartered accountants in the region? Thank you.
Yeah.
My name is Thomas. I am an advocate, Indian advocate practicing or consulting in Bahrain. There are some agreements, mutual cooperation agreement on civil, commercial and criminal matters signed back in 2004. But there are no rules made of it. So we cannot implement the judgment issued in Bahrain in India, nor judgment issued vice versa. But last year, I think, in UAE, with UAE, India signed or implemented all the rules. Now any judgment can be enforced in India easily. So if something can be done, like the double taxation, because as the trade grows, there are a lot of disputes. I myself have around 5-6 cases, judgment from Bahrain to be executed in India. And I am finding it very difficult to do it. My second request, see, there are a lot of low income class people here, and there is an inheritance issue. See, in Bahrain, there are very clear rules, laws, regulations, and they are implementing it. The issue here is the cost of getting a judgment in Bahrain is much higher. And a low-income worker who should get, 1,000 dinar or 500 dinar out of his settlement or salary or anything, he may be unable to do it. So if something can be done on a government-to-government basis, it will be very helpful. Thank you, sir.
The lady, please.
Hello, Excellency, sir. Hello, sir. It's a great honor to be here. Myself, Dr. Jaishankar Sarna. I am the Vice President of the Indian Ladies Association, the oldest women expat group in the entire GCC. In this political forum, I'm going to ask, or I think it's important to acknowledge the human part of the leadership. Sir, Honorable Sir, can I ask you, how do you personally manage the stress that your job requires? It would be very helpful for everyone sitting here. How do you manage the stress, and how do you cope up with the stress that every second you face? Thank you.
So there, yeah. Please. The lady there.
Good evening, Honorable Minister Dr. Jaishankar, Your Excellency Mr. Jacob, distinguished members, guests, and the audience. My name is Antara. I'm from Assam. I'm a little bit overwhelmed to meet you in person. It is an absolute pleasure and honor to meet you and be a part of this wonderful gathering. Being a proud Indian and a wellness professional myself, I feel highly proud and inspired how India has become a global leader in promoting wellness to the world. Through its many initiatives like in International Yoga Day, emphasize on Ayurveda, wellness, tourism, etc. So your effort to strengthen India's heritage with the world deeply resonates with my passion for sharing India's culture to the world. And I'm also grateful for Indian embassy around the world and in Bahrain for promoting wellness in many ways. And I have been very fortunate to be a part of many of these initiatives. I have two questions.
I think you answered her stress question.
Thank you. Thank you. As yoga and wellness have gained global recognition, what steps the Indian government is taking further to integrate wellness wellness practices further? And my second question is that how can wellness professional like me be actively associated with Indian Embassy or other institutions around the globe to amplify wellness heritage and wellness legacy worldwide? Thank you.
We'll take one last one. Yeah.
Honorable External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar and His Excellency Indian Ambassador Shri Vinod K. Jacob. Good evening, sir. My name is Jagdish. I am from Telugu Kala Samiti, President, Bahrain. It works under Ministry of Social Development. It is recognized, and we continuously work with Indian Embassy, and we represent Telangana and Andhra Pradesh. So we do many welfare activities. In Bahrain, around 50,000 blue collars are there. So we are doing a lot of welfare service with the help of Indian Embassy. They are very greatly cooperate. They are helping us to solve many problems. Thank you for that. And what I got an idea is, we are getting some support from Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. And central government also, can we have a separate cell for these welfare activities? So it will be helpful, I feel. That is my first question. And also we are doing a lot of welfare and for rich culture, heritage. It is a 25 years old organization. We are doing a lot of activities. So sometimes we are facing some sponsorship issues, everything. So to do more better, suppose some land or some for constructing a building, any support from the central government, like these organizations, it will be helpful, sir. And two more questions for India purpose, sir. India, because growing very fast and it is doing very well, but we are having a lot of IITs, NITs, research centers there. But still I feel that research center side, we need more research is required, sir. Because everything we should be able to produce, India should be able to produce. So research side, like IIT, how NITs are there, we should have a separate research colleges, and this very, very important, sir. And one more thing is, I am basically from Andhra Pradesh. I worked in the nuclear power plant, and after that I worked in combined cycle power plants. It's a combined cycle gas power plants. And now in India, in Andhra Pradesh, all the combined cycle power plants are closed conditions, sir. Because why the reason is lack of gas. Because 5,000 crores of construction plants, it is like a scrap, sir. So it is become scrap. So I think maybe some expert committee may be needed to reopen this gas power plant, sir. Because in front of us, we are seeing this one. I have written the letters to the government also regarding this one, sir. Thank you, sir.
So, thank you all. And let me start with our chartered accountant friend there. I would say anything I can do for, what is my message? Chartered accountants are very important people. And I think after my boss and my doctor, you come next in my order of priority. There are things I have to do annually which reminds me how important chartered accountants are. But honestly, I was not aware of what you are saying. I have to look at it in terms of recognition of CA, because my impression is a little bit different, okay? Because I do recollect some problem with chartered accountants had in Kuwait, and my memory could be off. I didn't get the impression that it was not like they were not recognized at all. But if you can send to the ambassador, something, I'd be very happy to follow up, because it is a very critical profession. It is the backbone at the end of the day of business. And we certainly want business to flourish between us and the GCC. So if there is a lacuna to be addressed, I'd be happy to do that. On the second issue, this mutual cooperation agreement which you raised, again, what often happens is sometimes agreements are reached and not followed up. Sometimes discussions are initiated but agreements are not reached. So it is possible, in fact I encounter this situation from time to time, where a kind of a job is left half finished, that it isn't followed through to the logical end. So if you would be good enough to provide us the details, because when we look at the GCC countries, and Bahrain is very much a part of that, I can see a situation we need many more. The original framework is like a very basic framework. Okay, as the relationship deepens in many more areas, we will need many more agreements. If you look today at some of our big deep relationships, there are literally hundreds if not thousands of agreements that we have with some of those countries. So in your case, I say this, but to others also, that if any of you in your particular profession or area of interest feel that there should be an agreement which we have not done, feel that an agreement has been done but has not been followed up, see any kind of gap, we are open to suggestions from your side. What is it we need to make this framework more relevant, more efficient, and in a way more practical on the ground? So I would be welcoming of any of this, and I would request you to just give me something specific to work on. I'd be happy to take it up. On your inheritance issue, again, I must say it is something new. Some years ago we revised we have something called the Indian Community Welfare Fund. We revised it in order to cater for the needs of blue-collar workers. And, we have a provision which deals with legal support. But I'm not sure it actually addresses this situation that you have referred to. I will see, here what can be done. Certainly, such this category of people, we need to be creative about the way we can find, we can't tell them the rules don't provide for it. I think we need some thinking. I'll talk to Ambassador, I'll talk to my colleagues as well who deal with this. The next two questions, it was not a facetious remark, when you said how, look, in a way you can say everybody has stress of some kind. Partly experience itself deals with a lot of things, if you've been doing something for a long time, you take everything in your stride. But still, there are situations, and but I think everybody handles it differently. Sometimes, just being with your family helps you deal with stress. The young lady there spoke about wellness practices. I, over these years, have started paying maybe a little bit more attention to my own mornings than I used to before. So I think if you do some, you stretch out in the morning, or you do yoga, or you play some sports, I think all these things build a degree of, I would say, you start your day much more at ease with yourself. But one great stress reliever is actually to have a very supporting environment around you. Nothing like good colleagues, good friends, and a good community. You're all helpful to, I've come to a place like Bahrain. I said, okay, this visit is going to be a nice visit, because I know everybody is going to say nice things. I know
everything is going to move forward. So look, you took a little bit of load off my shoulders. So, but On your question about what can we do, I would relate to you a set of conversations we had with Prime Minister Modi when we were looking at this idea of International Day of Yoga. He had this idea when he came. He had just become Prime Minister in 2014. He had come to New York. And he brought up this idea. This was September of 2014. And his point was, look, different countries, different organizations practice different kinds of yoga.
There is interest, but in a way there's need both for some degree of encouragement, but some degree of very light, you can say, guidance kind of, but it should not be so, people should not feel somebody's trying to control it, because it's a bottom-up, it's something which has started by people. It's a, after all, it's a civilizational tradition. So I do make that point to you. I think today, when I look at the world, I cannot think of any cultural practice, any wellness practice which is more pervasive than yoga. I mean, it's heads and shoulders about anything which from any other culture. And part of the reason is we have let it kind of grow and flower and, spread on its own. So it has to be a kind of almost like a popular movement, a popular interest which is moving forward. Clearly, the embassy can help. I feel one of the reasons we do International Day of Yoga is to enthuse people, to create that moment when people step forward. Many people hesitate to do that. Even I used to hesitate to do it till 10 years ago. So to come out, to spend time with others, to do it as a collective activity, and then it spreads. So by all means, I think the embassy would be very supportive. But at the end of the day, the more community-based it is, the more voluntary it is, the more of a ground movement it is. I think that is really the way it should actually develop. On finally the issue of, do we have a separate cell for wellness? Different state governments, wherever there's a community from a particular state, a state naturally will take interest. There's nothing wrong with that. But where an embassy is concerned, the embassy is there for welfare. It is the primary task of an embassy. It is not, you ask me what is the welfare cell for Indian Embassy Bahrain, he is the welfare cell. That is today, what an embassy is supposed to be about. And the image which we had over many years, that there's a government office, you can't get in, nobody will see you, they won't talk to you properly, they'll tell you come back next week. We're trying to break out of that image, And then this idea, the blue collar people, because often, in many countries, many societies, people would not look at workers. They would look at people they know socially. So this is today, in a way, the change that we are trying to bring about in foreign policy in our embassies. And I can see, after all, I've also spent my lifetime doing this. I can see the change today. And here again, I say this, it will change when we get feedback that we cannot anticipate everything. We will not have a solution for everything. But if from the different communities, from the ground, people tell us, have you looked at this? There is this problem, you need to do more of that. We will do some, maybe we'll not do everything. But your feedback, your involvement, your support, this is what will make us a good embassy, a good government, and a great country. And that is why, we need this constant communication today between the community and between the Indian government, with the ambassador, with the other diplomats. So once again, really, thank you all very much. Thank you for taking the time out. It's really been very, very good to meet all of you.
Thank you, sir. Please rise to give a standing ovation to sir.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Thank you, Your Excellency. With that, we come to the close of this evening. Kindly join us for dinner.
What happened to me happened for a reason. My son, the assassin will use his name.